Okay, going to give this a shot. See how it sounds, see how it looks. I don't know, I'm still teching out a podcast room, a video room. So the workshop this week, the assignment, we're going to be working on character, but the writing assignment was kind of unique. And I thought it'd be fun if I actually did it, like take you through my writing process as a professional comedy writer, sort of see behind the scenes of how I put things together and see if that helps you think about how you want to put things together. And the assignment this week is to write stand-up of whatever flavor you want on the topic. We're all doing the same topic of red fruit. I know, like rich, super topic within stand-up. Not really. I see my glasses or... Okay. I pick general topics like this sometimes just because I try to show people that once you understand the writing techniques themselves, the mechanisms behind writing things like stand-up, it really doesn't matter what you pick. A good stand-up writer can literally turn anything into stand-up because it's all mechanical technique. There's a whole list of writing structures, joke mechanics that create stand-up comedy. And I make that list available when people are in the class, and I give out assignments and let people practice. The reason why I picked red fruit, there's actually a history to this one. Probably 25 years ago, I don't know, when I was teaching a version of this workshop at the Tampa Comedy Works, which came out of the Denver Comedy Works and was open for quite a while, and then it closed. I taught the workshop there, and the assignment was to write on green vegetables. And so I wrote that one and actually ended up writing a bit about celery being a negative calorie food, and that it takes more calories to process it than to eat it, than you actually get in as value to your body. So you can kill yourself eating celery. You can commit celicide. You can tell when somebody's committed celicide because the outline around their body is very skinny. And detectives would be like, what happened to this guy? Can't you tell by the size of the body? This guy committed celicide. And I talked about being piano wire trapped in a fruit and a vegetable, yada, yada, yada. So I turned that into stand-up, sold it to a buddy of mine. He actually used it quite a while on the road and I think on TV too. So you can turn anything into stand-up, into usable stand-up. So the assignment this week is red fruit. And so I haven't worked on this at all. So I'm going to take you through my writing process and we can kind of sort of see how that works. Usually when I have a comedy noticing or a thought or a flash or a nugget appear, I just save it. I won't let myself think about it right away because when I think about it, I sort of end up ruining the initial energy that's in that sort of new flash of, maybe if I do this, you can see my eyes. It was the screen from the computer. You ruin your initial energy, which is for a lot of people, their best comic energy. And so I try to save that. So I gave out red fruit and I haven't thought about it yet. One guy did the assignment last week and talked about tomatoes. Somebody else talked about pomegranate a little bit, but that's about all I've got. As I was getting ready to do this, my brain started generating comedy around it. And one of the ways is this semantic grooves that good comedy writers, almost all comedy writers, develop, where you'll hear the semantic groove of red fruit and you'll start applying it to other things that are similar in the same semantic groove and somehow in the same content groove. So my brain came up with red rum from The Shining, and how much it'd be much less scary if the kid was walking around going, red fruit, red fruit. So that's a starting joke. That's a starting place. So I put that one down, red fruit. It's an old movie. I don't know if people watch it anymore. Most media stuff dies out really fast these days as far as usefulness in comedy writing because not everybody has seen these things. But red fruit, so the first thing I would do is one of two things. I either sit down and stream of consciousness into the computer itself, what everything I know about red fruit, my history, my own personal history with red fruit. I hate red fruit. So that's one of the ways I would do it. I'd add an emotion, hate or love, turns it into a rant. Mine would be how much I hate red fruit, especially tomatoes. Like when we were growing up in Kentucky, we had 2 acres, and anything will grow in Kentucky. Like, you can drop a seed from the, prehistoric times and grow a new tree that's never been on the earth before. Again, this is me just sort of rambling. Not all of this is going to be funny. It's not been worked on, hasn't been developed. But we grew beefsteak tomatoes in the backyard. These huge tomatoes, like half pumpkin, half tomato. And they started disappearing, even though we had wire around them. We couldn't figure out what was happening, what animal was getting to them. And then I looked out back once and I saw our corgi, about this tall, scooting underneath the wire, getting a beefsteak tomato and walking out with this huge red, almost pumpkin in his mouth. Tiny little black corgi. It's like, we have a vegetarian corgi. So that's one thing. I've got some history. I hate red fruit. I hate tomatoes. I hate all fruit, but especially red fruit. I've got one story about the corgi named Corky. Any of that stand-up worthy? I don't know, doubtful. I've got media. So I'm taking notes on all this. The Shining. I do know also from previous research that there, just stuck in my mind, there are tomato festivals in Europe where traditionally they've grown so many tomatoes, it's such a huge harvest, that they have festivals all day long where they throw tomatoes at people in the streets. Everybody lines up on the balconies and the tops of the buildings and houses, and they just pelt people with tomatoes. There was a white guy who wrote about it in the Atlantic years ago. It was a great article because he was just talking about how non-celebratory his culture was. Like, this was so far away from the sort of white British culture I think he was from growing up, that it was just a wild scene. And you can find video of it, but the story itself was really well written. It just stood out in my mind. Again, I'm not sure if that's great for comedy, but we've got some cultural stuff to put in the mix. And again, I take notes on all this. I don't let my brain just do this on its own because you don't remember it, first of all. And secondly, when you're developing material, being able to look at it and reread it over and over again is one of the things that your brain really holds on to. And now you're working from recognition instead of recall. And recall is when your brain is just trying to work on its own, right? It's just whatever the big void is in here, and will it float something up to you? Recall is you look at things and you start noticing, and then it sort of flashes up into your brain. This is also why I always now do GPT, or it used to be Wikipedia research on these topics. If I were going to do this, and I'll probably do this in a 2-part thing, I'll start it today and then I'll come back to it tomorrow, is I would go to GPT, which I'll do right now, and I will say, I need a list of all the red fruits and then all the near red fruits, which probably could be categorized as red, even though they're not perfectly red. I'll check that. Let's see what it comes up with. I like doing fast research on the internet like this. You used to be able to do it going to sites, and sometimes that's still useful because the sites will show you pictures. And again, when you're working from recognition, reaction, when you see a picture of something, your brain will create comedy in response to it if you've trained your brain to do this. So the full list of naturally red or primarily red fruits. They're berries, so there's quite a few of those: strawberries, raspberries, red gooseberries. Are there red geese? That's a funny image. Red mulberries. And then there's going to be things that you've never heard of, which is also kind of fun, but you got to educate the audience, which sometimes gets in the way of the comedy. Lingonberries, loganberries, I don't know. Red apples, there are tons of varietals, and I already thought about Red Delicious, and I thought about this kind of as a bit. I guess my brain did a little bit of work on it when we were doing the assignment together, talking about it. That there's so many variations of apple now, even though they're all kind of red, but they have to market it with specific names to make them distinct, like Fuji. I don't know, that always makes me think of something nuclear meltdown, like a nuclear plant that melted down. Honeycrisp, there's a ton. And what I would do here is I would pull all those up and I would print them or copy and paste them into a file where I could see them. And then I would just start going through. Like, I already have kind of a bit, now that I think about it, on Red Delicious. Well, it's a joke that I wrote for social media that Red Delicious is both obvious and overclaiming. Like, if you have to tell us you're delicious, you're probably not that delicious, which it's really not. It's one of the worst apples. It's like leather. It's like biting into a leather-covered fruit. There are red apricots, cherries, pomegranates. Then there are tropical exotic fruits. Watermelon, they say, has a red interior, kind of pink, flesh-colored. Red bananas, they're actually red bananas. There's a blood orange, crazy name. There's got to be something in there we can mess with. And then miscellaneous fruits. Tomatoes, why does it give it miscellaneous? Botanically a fruit. I have to look that up. There are red grapes, red figs, and some varieties, and then a bunch of near red fruits. So we've got a bunch of stuff to start with here, and what I would probably do is start plucking these out, and then again sort of going further into the research and see where they're grown or if there's any funny stories about them. So what this does, it gives you a whole universe of raw material to react against and react to. So you start with this concept, red fruit, which is a very generic thing in the world, and now you have to drag it over into sort of a comedy universe and get it ready to start writing punchlines and stories, puns, reversals, taboo breaking, any of the things that turn this into stand-up. So that's what I'll do tomorrow. This is the prep work to get us going. And then tomorrow we'll take a look at actually turning this into stand-up using some joke mechanics.